What's happening? Happy Friday! RPG Fantasy Sports Report. I'm RPG, handsome Ron Burgundy. Check my site out, www.rpgfantasysportsdoc.com. That's doc.com. Let's get started. Thursday night games are back. Week 10 started last night. Baltimore at Atlanta for what was an absolute snooze fest for 3 quarters. Got real exciting in the 4th quarter. Great ending to a game. Personally, as an NFL fan, I love Thursday night football. It's an extra night of football. There's usually a great matchup like this was on paper. Fantasy-wise, I don't like when I have studs where I'm playing against a ton of guys on a Thursday night. If it doesn't go well, or if you're playing against Matt Ryan and Roddy White last night, I mean, you pretty much are going to lose this week. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but I like to wait till Sunday to get everything going. So if you did have either one of those quarterbacks last night, though, 3 touchdowns apiece, you got to be feeling good, confident going into this weekend. So Week 10, last week of byes, thank goodness. Let's get a couple injuries updated. At quarterback, we're pretty free and clear. Stafford's probably out for the rest of the season, but he was no more than a quarterback 2 at this point. The biggest hurt is coming from byes. 3 of the best 4 quarterbacks fantasy-wise in the league, in Breeze, Rodgers, and Rivers, on a bye this week. Running back, D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart, out. Beanie Wells, Joseph Adai, doubtful, questionable, whatever you want to call it. They're probably not going to suit up. I wouldn't play him anyway. Redskins running backs. I know that's pretty general, but that's a Monday night game. Shanahan is notoriously secretive about his injury report. Terrain's been limited. Portis has sort of come back to action. Haven't heard anything about Keelan Williams. Unless you've got a couple of those guys and you're able to plug whoever's going to start in before the game, I'd pretty much recommend staying away from the Redskins running backs unless you have no other options. With byes and injuries, you may not. But I'd probably rather start a Mike Goodson, even though I don't really like that guy much, with D'Angelo and Jonathan Stewart out. Knowing he'll play and he's going to start and get some snaps, then take a risk and not know what's going to happen in that Redskins game. So wide receiver, big hurt. Steve Smith, New York Giants, out at least a week or 2. He kills the Cowboys, so that's a tough one. Percy Harvin, doubtful. Ankle, migraine. The guy's been questionable the last couple weeks, and I've doubted his ability to play, and he comes out and he rolls. Obviously, you want to check the inactives, but if he's playing, you're starting him. Jacob Tamme didn't practice all week. Did practice today. He should be good to go. So you're going to be starting your studs. I will go over an example a little later here where the one time I maybe reconsider it, but you're starting your studs every week. But with byes and injuries, there are a couple guys I like that aren't must-starts, never have been must-starts all year that I like this week. David Garrard, the quarterback. I like anybody against the Texans secondary at this point. Phillip Rivers, 4 touchdowns with basically third-string receivers in last week. The Texans secondary is horrible. The Jags are coming off a bye. David Garrard scares me. The second you pump him up, he lets you down. But I really would recommend any quarterback against the Texans at this point. So Sean Hill, just based on the matchup against Buffalo and just his weapons, Calvin Johnson, Burleson, Pettigrew, Javid Best out of the backfield. It's just, there's too many weapons. So if you have one of those guys on a bye or you got an injury issue, he's a good plug-in this week. Running back, Fred Jackson, Javid Best are playing each other. Detroit's defense is better. They're still susceptible to some big plays, though. I like Fred Jackson this week. Javid Best, I mean, the matchup doesn't get any better than this. Buffalo's got the worst rushing defense in the league. He hasn't done anything since week 2, really. He's got that turf toe thing. If he does nothing in this game, he's pretty much unstartable. You know, you're not going to drop him, but he's unstartable until further notice. But the matchup's so good, you got to take a chance on him. Tim Hightower, Marshawn Lynch, they're also playing each other. I mean, these were 2 passing teams a couple years ago. Matt Hasselbeck throwing the ball, Kurt Warner throwing the ball. Neither one of these teams were that good, especially Seattle on the road. Not good at all. Hasselbeck coming back this week most likely. I see a lot of running it. Beanie Wells is probably going to be out. I don't love Hightower. He puts the ball on the ground a lot, but it's going to be a grinded out game, low scoring most likely, unless there's a lot of turnovers. I like both of those backs to get a lot of carries and get some yards. I even like Marshawn to score this week. And LeGarrette Blount. I wrote about it last week. Didn't like him that much. Thought Atlanta would come out of their bye at home on fire, would get ahead early. It's exactly what happened. LeGarrette Blount didn't really even have much of an effect on the game. Tampa Bay abandoned the run. Carolina's down to their second-string quarterback and their third-string running back. They're not going to score a ton of points. If Blount scared you off after last week, don't let him do that. I think he's in for a big week. At receiver, Mario Manningham with Steve Smith out. He's an automatic play, hands down. Dallas has given up. Even with the new Garrett as coach now, they've given up. Eli Manning's been in fuego. The running game's going to set up the play action. I like Manningham this week. Mike Sims-Walker, Mike Thomas. It's not often you're ever going to recommend two Jaguar receivers, much less one. Again, Houston's just so bad on defense. These guys are worth a flyer. Chad Ochocinco. Just like last week, I expect Indy to get up quick like Pittsburgh did last week. I expect Palmer to have to throw a lot. Now, the Colts play a much different defense. They're going to roll back into a zone, some cover two. Not a lot of big plays, and obviously T.O.'s the receiver to have. But after griping and groaning last week, I expect Ochocinco to get a lot of targets. Maybe he can get some yards after the catch. As long as the offensive linemen can keep Freeney and Mathis away like they did last week against Pittsburgh's defense, I like Ochocinco to have a bounce-back game this week. So, Ron Burgundy's game of the week, Texans, Jaguars. It's not often on the RPG Fantasy Sports Report you're going to hear so much about the Jaguars and Texans, but as a NFL game, well, not really that exciting, but as a fantasy game, there's going to be a grip of points. The over-under is like 50. They're going to score in the 60s combined. No defense. It's one of those games where you literally can start anybody on offense, a skill player, and be okay with it. I mean, Kevin Walter, Jacoby Jones, let's hope you don't have to do that. But everybody else, I expect a huge scoring game. And as an NFL fan, every once in a while, it's just fun to watch a no-defense shootout. And I highly anticipate that. So that's Ron Burgundy's game of the week. RPG's tip of the week, Revis Island. It's not really a tip. It's a warning. Last year, didn't have as much help in the secondary. Was on the top receiver pretty much 100% of the time. Shut them all down. Shut Randy Moss down. He just shut everybody down. This year, he missed training. He missed a lot of training camp. Reported late. Hurt his hamstring. They've gotten to their bye. He shut down Calvin Johnson last week. I mean, shut him down. One catch, 13 yards. I know Stafford didn't look his way a lot, and I know that he had help, other help, safety rolling over and Cromartie going on him every once in a while. But Revis shut him down. If you could guarantee that Revis was going to guard the number one receiver 100% of the time, 100% of a certain game, I would recommend benching a guy. I would never recommend benching Andre Johnson when he plays in 2 weeks. If he plays Cleveland this week, I wouldn't recommend a receiver at all. Andre Johnson in 2 weeks. The week after that, Ochocinco. And then 2 weeks after that, Brandon Marshall. You're probably not going to sit any of those guys. You probably spent, they're wide receiver ones. You spent early picks for them. But if somebody would tell me right now that Revis was going to guard all three of those guys 100% of the game, I would probably sit them. He is that good. Obviously, with the Cromartie jumping in, you don't know how the plays are going to be distributed. And although Cromartie's good, he can be burned. But Revis Island, baby, it is back. And I don't ever recommend sitting studs, but if I ever would think twice about it, it would be because this one single guy. He's a game changer. So enjoy the weekend. Week 10. The trading deadline might be over in your league. It might be coming up. It's surely coming up. Maybe you don't have one. Make some trades if you're going into the playoffs. Try to strengthen your team going forward. Start maybe looking ahead at those playoff weeks. See what you got. San Diego State Aztecs, top 25, 25th in the country. Tomorrow against Long Beach State. I'll be there. Same with some of my Aztec friends. I'm excited about it. Week 10 NFL. Enjoy. I'm RPG. Handsome Ron. Have a good weekend. Enjoy Week 10.